We are live. Hello, 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 everyone on LinkedIn. We are live on LinkedIn. My name is Diana Lowe,
And I'm Sandy Benz.
and we are of Blue Light Leadership. We are so excited to have you here. We took 1 week off, and now we are back to our fifth session on LinkedIn Live. And today it's exciting because we're talking about transforming your challenges into opportunities. So there's so much to be said about this, and we really do try to keep it to about 20 minutes. Sometimes we go over ish. But Sandy, transforming your challenges into opportunities, there, like I said, so much to be said about this. Who do you think would benefit from listening to the conversation today and really gaining something from it?
You know, this definitely applies to results-driven leaders who are looking to help their remote teams by motivating them, but they're not quite sure maybe how to do that when they're so focused on results. The other is mid to senior leaders who need to really build their relationships to accomplish their goals so that they can lead through people. And then the other is leaders who are finding that they have more difficult interactions and conversations. And so they want to really learn how to keep people motivated and engaged, even though things are difficult.
So basically, what I'm hearing is it's about people. It's about how we relate to people. It's about our relationships. It's about taking those difficult relationships and turning them into something that we can work with, right?
Exactly. That's it, Diana.
And I feel like there's not one leader, whether we read about it in the news, whether we know them personally, whether we are that leader, who doesn't have a people challenge, who doesn't have a how do I fix this problem, right?
Yeah.
In terms of a person that they need to work with. So
Well, it's because, and that's oftentimes because what we're trying to get done at work and the bias for action sometimes kind of gets away from the need to focus on people. Sometimes those two seem at odds for a lot of people, but in
mhm.
reality, it can come together. And that's why we'll talk on this topic today.
I love that. That's exactly what we're going to talk about today. So let's get into it. So, as we do on these LinkedIn Lives, we like to have a little bit of a format, if you will. So, for each week's topic, we use a roadmap to help us walk you through how you can engage your skills right here, right now. And, and maybe we hope, our deepest hope is that you get some insights and you're able to really reflect on your own behavior or your environment and see how you can tweak it so that you can show up in the best way possible for your people. So on this journey we take on this roadmap, we're looking at mindset, skill set, and get set go. So mindset is going to be what's our foundation of what we're bringing into this moment. So for today, it's going to be the mindset of how we transform our challenges, because let me tell you, mindset is key. It's everything, right, Sandy?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. And then we'll go into the skill set and some skills and behaviors that you can really reflect on and things that you need to do to engage. And then get set go is, let's get started. So let's dive in for today. So, what is the mindset, Sandy? So, I'm going to be asking Sandy these questions today. What's the mindset for transforming challenges into opportunities at work? And we're talking a little bit vague, right? So feel free to use any examples if you need, but why
Yeah,
is this important?
thank you. Yeah, you're right. It is. Well, when we talk about transforming challenges into opportunities, many of you are probably saying, well, I know that. I mean, we all know how important it is to turn lemons into lemonades, right? Um,
Yeah, I love it.
yeah, exactly. But here's the thing. When we become emotionally hijacked, we forget this. So in the moment when we feel like there's a situation where it's a crucial conversation or an important meeting where we feel like someone is showing a little bit of emotion and we feel kind of defensive or highly sensitive situations, this is where we might become emotionally hijacked. And what's interesting about this is our body and our brains physically react to becoming emotionally hijacked. This is so fascinating for me because what I mean by this is that emotionally hijacked is when um, it's when the blood literally goes from our brain to our arms or our legs for the fight or flight syndrome. And that, so literally our blood is moving away from the brain where we need it the most in these difficult situations.
Totally.
Isn't
Yeah.
that crazy?
It is. It really is. And as that's something that happens naturally in our body. So the more mindful we can be about it, or the more aware, if you will, we can be about it, then we're able to make better choices, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and you mentioned, that it's very natural that what happens, but the thing is that if we're not aware of it, we may not notice that when we're upset, we're looking down, or we're looking a little upset, or our eyes or our mouth or our jaw is tightening. You could see minimal, subtle changes in people, and we as humans pick up on it. And so this is really important because we may think no one notices it. Sometimes people are like, their body language is so loud, they're looking away, they're shaking their hands. I mean, sometimes it's really obvious, but other times it's really subtle. And so people, because they pick up on that, we need to be really self-aware of how we're coming across in the moment when we're feeling tense, upset, hijacked, defensive, anything, even if it's good, like if we're feeling passionate and, about something, because when I'm excited about something and passionate, I start talking really fast. And so there's little things like this that we don't want people to misunderstand our intent. Our intentions are good, but maybe we want to come across calm. We want to come across that we're thinking through a situation and not reacting too quickly. So in the moment when we're feeling emotionally hijacked, we got to think about how we're going to handle ourselves so that people don't get the wrong idea.
Oh, I like that. I feel like I just want to go to Get Set Go and find out like how to,
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
that sounds like me too. This is a lifelong quest for really all people to have, not just leaders, because I think everybody is a leader in their own right, right? They're working with people, they're in an environment. But this really calls for us to consistently work on this skill so that, we can show up and be productive in our environments, whether it's remote, whether it's hybrid, or we're not our own we're not in a vacuum, right? So tell me about the skill set. That's what I want to know.
Okay. So knowing that knowing that the mindset is that we want to be careful about this and that we know that it could potentially shut down trust and collaboration and connection. And as leaders, we don't want to shut down our people because that is what inhibits innovation and collaboration. So what we want to do, the related skills here are: one, to learn from our mistakes, which involves having a growth mindset, right?
Oh, that's so hard. What so if we're learning from our mistakes, what if we have that we're not good enough, or I'm already down. So and now I'm making mistakes. Oh.
Okay, I'm so glad you mentioned this. So I was just talking to someone the other day about this, and she was saying, how do we appear confident if we
Mhm.
know we've made a mistake? And so this is where we've talked a little bit about authenticity, but what we're going to talk about now is taking that authenticity about the humility of admitting your mistake, but then focusing on what did I learn from this? Hey, listen, like it's like, for example, saying, the other day, or I remember when I was in the same situation as you, and I made this mistake, but boy, it really gave me a chance to learn from this. Or it could be that, hey, I've made this mistake and I want to help everyone else not make the same mistake I did. So here's what I learned from it. And it takes confidence and it takes leadership courage to do that. So it shows confidence to be able to say, I learned from my mistakes.
So much courage, and I think that's the character building of a great leader.
Yeah.
Knowing the environment may not actually want that too. So there's a lot of nuances here because we might not be in an environment where it's okay to talk about your mistakes, right?
Well, yeah, in fact,
So
and thank you for mentioning that. I just want to mention too that as a leader, if we role model that it's okay to make mistakes, it's okay to admit them and talk about how we're moving forward from those mistakes, we are role modeling and helping others to admit and focus on solutions going forward. And that's the whole idea of a healthy culture, is focusing on solutions going forward.
I love that. Solutions focused, right? Not problem solving, not constantly focusing on the problem, but solutions focused. Oh,
Yeah,
I love that so much. So,
cool.
are there any other skill sets that we need to focus on that you think that are important for us to?
Yeah, I think one that's really important is, and a lot of people are going to groan at this, but quickly adapting to new circumstances. Now, how
Oh.
does this tie into turning challenges into opportunities? Because new circumstances are challenging, right? So here the thing,
Yes.
everything's changing, right? Everything changes at work, at home. It just nothing ever stops and sits still. So for us to be able to quickly adapt to new circumstances, we know that's important. But how? Well, one thing is to prepare for change, to try it out, to get used to change. I mean, just try it out on a regular basis. My husband doesn't really like change a whole lot. He didn't even like going to new restaurants because he didn't know if he'd eat something that he didn't like. And I was like, well, let's just try it because out of it, we might find out something we do like, or we have a new restaurant or a new dish, you know? So we just kept going
Very
to new
good.
restaurants just to get used to it.
And that's the thing. I think that's what I was going to ask you. So we don't, nothing change. You made a great point. Everything's always changing. The nature of everything, the market, the people you work with, the circumstances, our health, our,
Mhm.
our energy levels, everything's in flux. So if we know that, then why do you think change is so hard for us? Is it that yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, what were you gonna say? Is it because of
Well, I was gonna think like, is it because we don't feel like we have that control in the change,
mm,
or we're not curious enough? I don't know.
well, you know,
I
some
don't know if I have the answer to this.
well,
Or
that's interesting. Some people we're all hardwired in different ways, and people who are hardwired for a sense of security and are risk averse definitely are exactly what you just described, that they are afraid of making a mistake or looking
mm,
bad or, but then there's others of us who love the idea of taking risks and trying something new and different and saying, "Hey, if I make a mistake, so what? I'll move forward." But here's the thing. If the company is going to risk something based on the mistakes we make, we get scared that even though I'm okay with making mistakes, my boss or the organization may not be. So
great point.
yeah. So then we end up creating a culture sometimes as leaders of a risk averse culture that we shouldn't be making any mistakes. So here's what I would recommend is if that's the case, another skill related to being change agile or being to quickly adapt to new circumstances is to talk with your boss. If the risks are high of something you're getting ready to do, talk with them. Tell them here are the risks I'm anticipating of trying something new, but here are the benefits that we might get if we move forward and we learn from this. So it's
I love that.
you know
Yeah,
sometimes
that's
you have to
great.
try something new, right? So
Yeah,
another mindset, kind of going back to this, is the idea of failing forward. That we may fail, but we're going to fail forward. If we get back on the horse, we go and move forward, and we learn from this and move on. We find what works and what doesn't. So,
nothing's wasted. I think that's the key. Is that everything we do, whether we make a mistake, whether we have success, nothing is wasted because we can always take from it, learn from it, try a different approach.
mhm.
There's so much, and the key, what I'm hearing you say, is in the reflection, right? So making sure we're reflecting and learning. So let's get set go, because I
Oh,
think that probably has something to do with it.
yes,
Right.
you're absolutely right.
Okay.
Hmm.
So tell me, so as we like, what can our listeners or people who watch us on YouTube or wherever you're listening to this conversation, what can they do right now to really engage that, whether it's an attitude or the skills or behaviors to, transform these difficulties into opportunities?
Okay, so to get set go, to start practicing right away, right after you get off this video here, this LinkedIn Live, is one, practice learning from your mistakes. Now that sounds really weird, doesn't it? But practice,
Kind of,
make,
yeah.
yeah, it kind of does. Yeah. So practice making a few mistakes and then reflecting on them, just like you said, and thinking, what did I learn from this? Now, to do that, sometimes it helps to be able to have an accountability partner, to actually think out loud, to practice admitting it. Because my husband still doesn't like to admit mistakes. So to
Yeah.
get used to this, sometimes you got to work with someone, even like a coach, who can really help you practice in a safe way how to reflect and think on the past, but then move forward with it. What are your thoughts, Diana, about that?
I actually love that because I think one part is, as you say, practice making mistakes. I think I'm not, certainly, as people might know, but a perfectionist, or if you have a tendency to be a perfectionist, I think like, wow, maybe that's something that needs to be worked on with a therapist, even, right? In tandem with a coach, possibly. But I love that you said using a coach as an accountability person to help
Mhm.
us to grow, because really that's what executive coaches, that's sometimes even what life coaches do, or relationship coaches, or there are so many different types of coaches. They really help us put ourselves in a safe space where we can think about like, where do we need to grow in this moment, and how can we move from this, as opposed to it becoming baggage, right? And a
Exactly.
problem. Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, a coach can also help you as a leader to think about, well, if I need to admit something to my team that I did make a mistake, because sometimes I've actually coached managers how to admit this to their team because it helps build trust to say, you know what, I really screwed up and here's what I'm going to try and do. Will you all keep me accountable? So if I do this again, let me know because I definitely don't want to impact you all the way I did inadvertently, and that wasn't my intention. Isn't that
Language, yes, language is key to that. You can practice that with a coach. You can, the structure, yes, yes. That's why I did chef's kiss.
yeah, exactly.
Well,
Well,
anything else we should get set and go? Sorry, I feel like I
yeah,
just.
yeah. Well, okay. So the other bit, by the way, can I just add one thing about learning from our mistakes is to admit that to not only admit it, but sometimes to laugh. You can go, oh boy, I really screwed up there. Boy, that kind of thing. So I just want to say sometimes it doesn't have to always be serious. The other
Yes.
thing I wanted to mention about a kind of a get, set, go is, and we can practice right away, is when it comes to quickly adapting to new circumstances and we've tried something, sometimes when we feel like we've screwed up, remember to always reflect on three things: what worked, what didn't work so well, and what would I do differently going forward? Those three questions are the best part, not just for us individually, but as teams. A leader can share with their team and again, role model this and say, okay, so now that we went through this new situation, it doesn't even have to mean that we went, it doesn't mean that you went, that it was a mistake or that it was a problem. We can just say, this went really well, but let's still reflect on it and think, okay, so what went really well? And have everyone kind of add to that. Okay, now what didn't go so well that we might not want to do again, and have people add to that. And then say, okay, so in light of this, what will we do going forward to make sure that that we do something differently to improve, to continually improve. And that's what creates change agility. So those three questions, again, I'll just repeat them because they're so
Yes, I was going to ask you to repeat them because they're good. And just in case somebody's like, wait, I missed the questions. I wish we had not a slide, but like captions or something. But yeah,
yeah, exactly.
please.
So
Yes,
after
please.
any new project or any new initiative or making mistakes or trying something new, always ask these three questions to yourself and maybe of others: is what worked, what didn't work so well, and what would I do differently or what will we do differently going forward?
I love that. I love that. It's so simple. And I've
Mhm.
actually heard those questions used for meetings, like
Yeah,
how we run a meeting. So at the end of the meeting, they ask that, like what worked, what didn't work, and what are we going to do differently to shave time off of meetings.
that's a great idea for improving meetings. So no one likes meetings, right?
I think people, like people who really love people, they're like, I miss you. They
Yeah,
like
that's
meetings,
true.
but I don't think anybody else does.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, this is amazing. So, what I'm hearing is, you know, in general, everybody has their own mountains to climb, their own difficult moments that they're facing right now at work, whether that's dealing with a relationship, um, dealing with, navigating the market, how things are right now.
Mhm.
But what I'm hearing is mindset is key,
Growth
and
mindset.
a growth mindset is key to that.
Mhm.
If you, and the other thing is, if you can't ignite that, I'm also hearing some sort of accountability, some somebody to help you ignite that, right?
Yeah, yeah. Be okay with asking for some help here.
Exactly. So that, and then the skill set is really using that reflection to grow from that, using that growth mindset. So I love that. So if you have any questions, or if you're watching this and you're like, but what about this? We'd love to hear your questions. You can email hello@bluelightleadership.com. You can get us through LinkedIn through our profiles. They are attached to this LinkedIn Live. Or if you're watching on YouTube, you could also check us out on, you can go through LinkedIn or email. So thank you so much for today. I'm super excited. We have one more to go, maybe more in the future, but one more in this series. And I love this little banner. I'm not going to lie. I feel like it's just so professional.
It's great.
I
Awesome.
know it's just so simple, but it makes a difference. So our upcoming LinkedIn Live will be, I don't even think it changed. So I did change it, but it didn't update. So it's
Oh,
going to be
yeah.
May 17th, and it's not May 10th because that's today.
Oh, that's
So
interesting.
May 17th, but it's going to be maximize performance through inspiration. And that's really going to be talking about how we as leaders behave to inspire our teams.
Yeah, that'll be really exciting. It's a great way to end our LinkedIn series on.
Yeah, I think so too. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. I am Diana Lowe, signing off here, and with my partner.
I'm Sandy Benz. We'll hope to see you soon.
Yeah, we'll see you soon. And thank you so much. We'll see you again. Bye.
Take care.